more time. Yes.
Good to see you. We'll see you soon, I thought.
See you. You've got that form again. Remember? Hey, I think they're going to take the form and decide to take it. I think you're introducing him. I will with my wife. Sitting here over the same way. Oh, knock yourself out. You got to figure it out. Yeah.
Hey folks, I think we're about ready to get started here. I wanted to just welcome all of you here. For those of you who are going to be caucusing, I hope we get a good turnout on Monday. For those of you who are kind of outside of the area, welcome to the Story County area. We love having all of you here and talking to all of you about what we're going to be doing here in Iowa this coming Monday, tomorrow now. I'm going to just very briefly tell you why I'm supporting Governor Christie. Early on in the process, I decided that I wanted two things from whoever our candidate was. I wanted somebody who was not from Washington, and I wanted somebody who had some executive experience, probably a governor. And so for me, Governor Christie fills the bill all the way around, and that's why I'm supporting Governor Christie. Thank you. At this time right now, I'm going to turn the mic over to Congressman Brooks from near the Indianapolis area, from Indiana. She's going to talk a little bit about why she's supporting the governor.
Thank you. Thanks. Hello, Iowa. Hi. Hello, everybody. I'm Congresswoman Susan Brooks. My husband and some friends and I drove over from the Indianapolis area today, got here about an hour ago, and the reason I drove over on this beautiful Sunday afternoon is because I wanted to share with you just a little bit about my dear friend, Christie. We were United States attorneys together. I was appointed 1 month after 9/11. He was appointed shortly thereafter. And the first time we came together as U.S. attorneys, Attorney General John Ashcroft chose Christie to stand up and to share with the U.S. attorneys from across the country what happened in his state, what happened in the state of New Jersey, how it was impacting the rest of the country. And Chris stood before all of us. We didn't know who he was. And he told us from his heart what 9/11 meant to the country and what we needed to do to go after the terrorists, to protect this country, and to keep us safe. And he made sure we were all a part of that team. And he led us. I was from Indiana. What did Indiana have to do with terrorism? And he made me believe that we were all part of keeping the country safe. He had that effect on all of us early on, and he's continued to have that effect. And we've worked hard together over those years. But then I was so proud when he became governor of New Jersey. And I sat in my Mendham, New Jersey t-shirt that night. Chris, Mary Pat, you may not know that. I had a Mendham, New Jersey t-shirt, and I'm watching on the television, and we're all calling each other, all of our friends across the country, because he wanted to turn New Jersey around. He loves that state so much. And he has done that. He's balanced the budget for 6 years. He's cut taxes. He cares so much about the people, and he led them through that devastation of Hurricane Sandy. He is the type of leader we need in Washington. He is. We have not had that leadership in Washington, D.C. He will push Congress to get things done for this country, to keep us safe, to bring jobs, to get government out of the way. He is the type of leader this country needs more than we've ever needed, and that's why we are here supporting Governor Christie, and I hope you do too. And next, a speaker. Your speaker from Iowa, who I've just met, an incredible man, and sorry to hear you're not speaker of this great state any longer, but he has given many, many years of service to your state, and so with that, I give you Speaker Paulson.
Thank you very much. I am former Speaker Craig Paulson. I just finished up 5 years and over from Hiawatha. But let me tell you what's really important is I'm a Cyclone alum, and so how about a little go Cyclones? We're getting pretty close to Election Day, but I told Governor Christie, no, we got to go to Ames and experience some of that Hilton magic because I think it's here. I am also the chair of the Governor Christie for President campaign, and I just briefly want to say this, and then I'm going to get out of the way because he's got a few things to share, and then he wants to answer your questions. I have got a chance to know him over the course of the last several years, and the governor, his wife, Mary Pat, their kids, and they are just one honorable family. I am so proud to stand up here and support him for president. His word is his bond. What he says is what he means. If he says he's going to do it, he will do it. If he says he's not going to do it, he will not. And in a date and time when we seem to have some of these, in particular presidential candidates, who seem to be a little bit confused on what they're for and what they're against, in particular a couple senators, I just think it's remarkably refreshing to have a candidate like Governor Christie who knows where he stands. I'll also tell you there is nobody who is more prepared to stand on the stage with Hillary Clinton and prosecute her. That's who we want there. There is also nobody better prepared to restore the United States of America into its leadership status in this world. And so with that, I give you my great friend and the next President of the United States, Governor Chris Christie.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming. I want to thank Craig and Kathy Paulson, who have been traveling with us for the last number of days all across Iowa. We've gone everywhere from Dubuque to Sioux City and everywhere in between. And I'm just thrilled to have him as the chairman of my campaign here in Iowa and thrilled to have them as friends. Dave Deo, thank you so much for your being here, for your support, and for all the enthusiasm that you have brought to our campaign as well. And it is great to have my old friend, Congresswoman Susan Brooks, here from Indiana. We did fight the fight that needed to be fought right after September 11th. And one of the things that I'm proudest of is that group of friends and colleagues who were U.S. attorneys together. We worked in the Justice Department, and for 7 years after 9/11, we didn't have another attack from a foreign terrorist group on this soil. It wasn't by accident, it wasn't by luck, it wasn't by mistake. It was because we all worked together to use every tool we could to support law enforcement. That's why there were no attacks. And since Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton have been in charge of the country, we've had multiple attacks again on this country. We have to end that and get a president in the Oval Office who knows how to protect America, and I am ready to perform that task. I hope you all got a chance to watch the debates on Thursday night. I was there on the stage in Des Moines. Others were not, but I was there. Others were a little too sensitive to get onto the stage on Thursday night. Their feelings were hurt, and so they couldn't get on the stage. But the rest of us were up there, and I'll tell you, what I thought was the most instructive part for picking a president of that debate on Thursday night was the debate on immigration. Not because immigration was the most important subject, it's an important one, but it's because of how the candidates reacted. You remember that part of the debate, right? Senator Rubio, they went to him first. They put videos up on the screen of Senator Rubio. All right, so in 2010, he was running for the Senate in Florida, and Senator Rubio said, I will never be for amnesty. I will never be for legalization of people who came here illegally. Okay? Then they show him in 2013, and Senator Rubio is standing with his arm around Chuck Schumer, saying he's for amnesty and he's for legalization and he's the lead Republican sponsor of that bill. Okay? Then they show Senator Rubio in 2015. He said, I'm never for amnesty, I'm never for legalization. Then they go to Senator Cruz and they show him running for the Senate in 2012. He says, I'm never for amnesty and I'm never for legalization. Then they show him talking about Senator Rubio's bill after he's already in the Senate. In 2013, he says, well, I'm not for amnesty, but I'm for legalization, and if we change it to legalization, I want to pass Senator Rubio's bill. Then they show him in 2015 saying, nope, I'm not for Senator Rubio's bill. I've never been for Senator Rubio's bill. And then they stop and they ask the two of them to explain it. Now, I'm standing there watching this, and And I said to myself, well, it's pretty easy to understand. They changed their minds. That's all. It's okay. Listen, I think it's okay in public life to change your mind. We're thinking, breathing adults, right? You get new information. You shouldn't be stubborn. You change your mind, you change your mind. But what happened after that? The water they drink in Washington, D.C. overcame these two poor guys. And they just started twisting themselves into pretzels, trying to convince you that what you just heard, you hadn't heard, and what you just saw, you hadn't seen. And they said, no, they never changed their mind. They've been consistent. And no. And then Cruz said Rubio's the bad guy. And then Rubio said Cruz is the bad guy. And then poor Rand Paul, he's standing next to me on the right, kind of far away from the action. But he's from Washington, too, which makes him, his mind doesn't work so good either. So then he starts getting in, and he's disagreeing with Cruz and Rubio. And then Jeb Bush, I guess, because no one had talked to him for a long time, old Jeb thought, well, can I get in here? So he said, no, Rubio, you've changed your mind. I don't know about Cruz, but since I'm attacking Rubio and I don't really care about Cruz, I'll just say whatever Rubio said was wrong. And finally, I said to myself, I got to get into this. I don't want to, but there's got to be some sanity brought from outside of Washington, D.C. So I said to folks, I think just like the audience at home, I need a Washington to English dictionary to convert the way these people speak. But you know what? Here's the big problem with that whole back and forth. It's not that they changed their mind. Of course they changed their mind. And I don't even want to say that Cruz flip-flopped or that Rubio flip-flop-flipped. That doesn't matter to me. Here's the biggest problem. They didn't tell you the truth. They wouldn't tell you the truth. They sat there on that stage and tried to convince you that they never changed their minds and that what you heard is wrong. That's what's wrong with Washington, D.C. They treat you like you're stupid. They treat you like you don't understand English. They don't even do their jobs, and then they try to accuse you. They try to accuse you of not understanding what's going on. Well, you understand what's going on, and we do not need another first-term United States senator as President of the United States. We've had that for the last 7 years, and we don't need another person who's never managed anything bigger than a 30-person Senate staff running the most complex government the world has ever seen. Barack Obama has failed us for the last 7 years because he's incompetent and doesn't know how to run a government, and Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz are not a dime's worth of difference in terms of how they run things. We need someone who's actually run something before, someone who's been accountable for their decisions. I've run things. I've been accountable for those decisions, and that's why those guys are not ready to be president, and I am. Now, one more thing on immigration, by the way. We're not going to build a wall across the entire southern border. And if we ever were to build a wall across the entire southern border, I can guarantee you this. I met President Peña Nieto of Mexico. When he came to the United States a couple years ago, he asked for a meeting with me, and I gave him one. And then he invited me to come to Mexico City on a trade mission with New Jersey, and I went and I met with him there. He's a very nice guy. He's very bright. He's very talented. And I don't care who asks him. He is not paying for the wall. I mean, you know how it goes. It'll be a beautiful wall, a fabulous wall, an amazing wall. The wall will go from one end to the other. It'll be beautiful. It'll have a door on it. The door will be in the middle. The good people come in. The bad people go out. It'll be a wall, have my name on it. It'll be beautiful. And the Mexicans will pay for it, or that's that. I won't do it. I mean, come on, man. Seriously? The Mexicans are going to pay for the wall, or I heard him say this, I heard Donald say this, he's going to put a 45% tariff. Now, that's the part that shouldn't be laughed about here in Iowa. 45% tariff on all the goods? Boy, farmers are going to love that, aren't they? Man, 45% tariff on your goods, you know what's going to happen. The Mexicans are going to retaliate. And then what's that going to do to farmers here in Iowa? When you're trying to export your goods, the things you work on, the way you support your families. See, it's all really funny until you get to the details. And then it's not so funny anymore. Then it's bad for America. So here's what I want to say to all of you as I close tonight. You're all voting tomorrow in the caucuses, and man, am I relieved that people are going to actually start to vote. I don't have to worry about listening to anymore about the pundits and the chattering class and all the rest of it. I don't want to hear about that stuff anymore. I want actually real people to go and vote. And by the way, you think I'm relieved. I can only imagine how relieved you people are to get rid of us. I mean, think about it. About 24 hours from now, your phones will stop ringing. Right? Your TV sets will have just the normal commercials. Right? Your mailbox will not be stuffed full with all kinds of stuff from us. You'll be back to a normal Iowa life at least until August or September when we come back here again, because you're a big state for the general election. But this is the last thing I want you to think about. I want to tell you, I've enjoyed the last 4 or 5 days here in Iowa tremendously, as I've enjoyed all the time I've spent here in Iowa. And Mary Pat and I were together in Burlington a couple of nights ago. Doing a town hall meeting. And a gentleman raised his hand. I called on him. He stood up, and he gave me his name. And he said, Governor, I want to ask you about what kind of commander-in-chief you're going to be, because 4 months from now, our son is leaving for Iraq for the first time. And when he got done with his question, I turned and looked to his left, and his wife was sitting there, and she was crying. And at that very moment, I stopped being a presidential candidate, and I returned to being a father. See, because Mary Pat and I have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, 22 and 19, 15 and 12. And I watched that lady cry, and I thought to myself, you know, what matters to them the most in this election is who's going to be their son's commander-in-chief. Who's going to be the person who's going to be in charge of the livelihood, the safety of their son. I looked into that mother's eyes, and I knew what she was thinking. This precious gift from God that she had nurtured from the time he was in the womb, through infancy and childhood, to young adulthood, and now to go off to fight for our values in the military. She's turning the most precious thing in her life over to her country. And there were 3 veterans sitting in this town hall as well. They had hats on. One of them said World War II veteran. One of them said Korea veteran. One of them said Iraqi freedom veteran. And I thought to myself at that point, what about the men who sent them into war? For the World War II veteran, Franklin Roosevelt and Harry Truman sent that man into war. For the Korea veteran, Harry Truman and Dwight Eisenhower sent that man into war. And for the Iraqi freedom veteran, George W. Bush sent him into war. Put aside the politics of any of those people for a moment. Those were all good, decent men who cared deeply about our country, who represented our country with honor and dignity and intelligence, and who understood what it meant to be commander-in-chief and never embarrassed us, always worked hard for us, and always cared about the lives of the men and women that they sent into war. I'd like to suggest to you that for those of you who are going to vote tomorrow night in the caucuses, and especially to those who haven't made up your minds yet, when you go to walk in tomorrow night, I'd like you to picture that mother and father standing on either side of you. And that when you go to fill out that ballot, that you don't have to just mark it, but that you have to say it. You have to say it to that mother and father. You have to say, I believe that fill in the blank, whatever name you're going to put in there, is the best person to be your son's commander-in-chief, is the best person to keep your son safe, to define his mission, and to bring him home safely. See, because I think some of the names on that ballot tomorrow night, you couldn't even say that out loud with a straight face. Not to those parents who are giving their dear son to our country. You need to say it out loud for yourself. That's the test, everybody. This has been an entertaining campaign. Believe me, I've been as entertained as anybody. Being on that stage has been extraordinarily entertaining at times. I've heard some things in this race that I could have never imagined I would actually hear. And I like to be entertained just like anybody else. And I know you do too. But showtime is over. This isn't a reality TV show. Showtime is over. It's game time. And when game time comes, we need real players on the field. Folks who really can do the job. This is game time for our country. And boy, is it game time for that mother and father who I met in Burlington. Because there's nothing more important to them than who the person is who's going to be calling the shots in the Oval Office, and whether or not that person represents our country in a way that is serious and sober and strong, not with bluster, but with seriousness of purpose. This isn't a game. This is not a game. And it's not just an exercise for you to vent your anger. We're all angry about Washington, D.C., and we all know they have to do better, and we all know we need a strong leader who's going to put the Congress back in line. But more than that, much more than that, tomorrow night I'll be thinking about that mother and father, and I hope you will be too. Because if you do, I know you'll make the right choice. Who's the person who's tested, who's mature, who's ready, who's most prepared to be the President of the United States? And then fill out your ballot. And I will be more than happy to be governed by your decision if you make it that way. And I want you to know something about me. I've been tested. I've been tested by 7 years of prosecuting terrorists and corrupt politicians as the chief federal prosecutor. I've been tested by 6 years as governor in the bluest of blue states as a conservative, pro-life Republican governor who has taken all the income you could imagine being taken from a liberal media in the biggest media market in America, in New York City. I've been tested by the second worst natural disaster that ever hit this country, and 365,000 homes being destroyed in 24 hours. And surveying that and having to rebuild it for the people of my state. I've been tested by every challenge that they put in front of you as a public servant. And here I stand, ready to take on the next crisis, ready to take on the next mission, ready to rebuild our nation, and ready to make us proud again of the person who sits behind the desk in the Oval Office. And remember one last thing. You don't get there unless you win in November. And there is nobody on that stage better prepared. And there is no one that Hillary Clinton wants to see standing across from her on that stage less than she wants to see me. She's been trying to avoid federal prosecutors for a long time. Don't let her avoid federal prosecutor next September. So it is up to you now. Who's going to prosecute the case against Hillary Clinton? We know it won't be the Obama Justice Department. They got no interest in it. You need to nominate someone who's going to stand on that stage and prosecute the case against her. And I guarantee you one thing. Not only will I make you proud as president, but if you give me the chance, I will stand on that stage against Hillary Clinton in September as the Republican nominee for President of the United States. And if you put me there, I guarantee you this, she won't get within 10 miles of the White House. The days of the Clintons in public housing will be over, and the days for America's return will be back. Let's go to work tomorrow night and win this thing. Thank you all very much.